back into the game, and I'm happy for it. I know, players like Artosis and Hydra. If you read Artosis's latest article, by the way, he talks about how people are playing what he calls the strongest race because Zerg's strongest or easiest to learn or whatever, and the fact that him and Hydra are thinking about switching is just looking like they're just looking to keep their ladder ranking high and all that, and the fact that people are still playing Zerg is encouraging to me because it means that people still just enjoy the race and aren't just playing just to win. They're playing to have fun and like what they're doing with them. So I'm happy to hear it, to be honest.
Yeah, I love the Zerg. I don't think even if they were the weakest race, I would still play them. They're awesome.
Good.
Oh yeah, and another couple things I've been seeing is a lot more. This Roach nerf has actually been showing more use of StarCraft 2 new mechanics. Like, I remember the Zerg used to have these buildings that they were considering called Nidus Worms, and I've actually seen them used now.
Oh yeah. They're becoming more and more popular, which is awesome to watch, and effectively too. I mean, I think a lot of people didn't understand how the StarCraft 2 Nidus Worm worked versus the old Nidus Worm, or Canal anyway. And as people realize that they can be useful in a lot more situations, for instance, against a fast expanding Protoss, they're like unstoppable. I mean, people don't think about using them enough, especially in the lower platinum levels and below. But at the high level, some people are starting to realize that, wow, all right, Protoss have started doing their fast expanse, but guess what? There's a really easy lair tech counter to that. I can go mass Hydra or Roach or Ling and just throw out a Nidus Canal and destroy their main. And then what good is that expansion, So it's pretty cool how it's definitely adding to the game.
Oh yeah, and even uses like taking island expansions and
oh yeah,
in larger maps when you're going to need it to go around from base to base to base, and of course, lastly, if they have an opening in their vision, if they don't, you can put some drops in their main, which is always fun.
All important stuff.
Oh yeah, and the third was another one that I think a lot of people thought was not a big deal, but actually turned out to be quite a big deal, and that's making the Thor smaller.
Yes. I think that's great because if you watch, especially if you watched a Sem vs. White Raw, the best of 9 that I did for the Gosu Coaching Showdown, it was like painful to watch him try to get the Thor away from Void Rays, and they were just so clumsy. And if anything, this is a huge buff to them because, they're a little smaller, not as impressive looking, but now they're manageable, and you can actually have them in your base, walking around a building, running away for something, whatever. And they're effective now. And I think, again, that's just another solid change that they made.
Yeah, it's a huge mixed blessing, I would say the small one is, because it did a few things that were good and bad. They are much more maneuverable. They're much more... well, I guess they're not any more mobile, but they also are now opened up for two big ones. I think it now takes more Zerglings to kill one, because Zerglings were sort of like the natural counter to them.
Yep.
And also, it's harder to beat things with just like putting the old way to use Thors was to have like 10 SCVs on it or something like that, so it would be like nigh indestructible. But now you can't put as many SCVs on it anymore.
And again, I think that's all good stuff. So, I mean, maybe it's too much of a buff. It's hard to say.
They can be nasty. They are nasty little buggers. Now they're little. The next thing we got here is an update on the betting scandal. There has actually been names named. Well, insinuated. There has been one outright confession, and it's just blown this whole conspiracy rumor of people throwing their game, Pro League people from Brood War, Pro League players throwing their matches for money. People are comparing this to... Some people are saying that this might not be that huge of a deal. Some people are saying that this is going to be like the fixed maps for Warcraft 3 and blow it all wide open.
Well, I gotta say, I understand. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but I understand where some of the players come from in order to do this sort of thing. Now, I don't understand why a player like Savior would get involved in this sort of thing. You know, he had to have a lot of like sponsorships and a lot on the line that he risked in order to make a couple extra $1,000. Now, if you're Justin or Dark Elf or, you know, some of these guys like Type B or Luxury, I'll be honest. I mean, these guys can't possibly be making all that much money because they're just not the top of the top, and they don't pay that well to those guys. So I could see that it was just one of those things that it was too hard to resist just to have the opportunity to make a little extra money. Do I think it's bad for StarCraft in general? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's not even a question. But do I kind of understand why they would do that? Hey, if I was doing it, if I was playing there and someone offered me a lot of money, I'd probably be like, sure, I'm going to lose anyway. I mean, like Justin, come on, he's a 2v2 player. The hell, he was told to throw a game in StarCraft 1 where he sucks in 1v1, and he's going to lose it anyway. To him, it was probably like, well, I'll try my hardest, and if I happen to be winning, yeah, okay, I'll throw it. But chances are he just played as good as he could normally, sucked enough where it didn't matter, and got paid for it. And so that I kind of found humorous. But, you know, again, like someone like Savior, Huashin, Luxury, and Yarnik, they had some risk. They've all been to, or not all, well, I don't know. I think they've all made it to either the finals or semifinals at least, and a lot of them made it, obviously, to the finals or even won the finals in some cases of the OSL, MSL, GOM TV, whatever. So it was surprising to hear those names, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to kill StarCraft any more than StarCraft 2 already is anyway. And at this point, it's just one of those things like, wow, that they're not above it either, you know?
Yeah, actually, in the article, they said how much money that these guys were actually making off of these throwing games, and they were in like the millions of won. And I don't know the conversion rate, but there was like, I think like one of them made like 40 million won or something weird like that, like Savior or something like that. And it was just like, that's a lot of money.
I don't know. The translations I read were they were getting anywhere from like $2,500 to $5,000 per game thrown. It could have been more. Maybe it was a lot more. But the guy who really made out is the gangster who hasn't gotten caught, who was running the whole show. So it's kind of ironic that he didn't get anything basically to happen to him.
Yeah. Oh, and it could also turn out that like the gangster was like, you know, they were using like extortion stuff to get them to throw games. You never know.
Yeah. Could be. You never know.
And there has been no confirmed people except for one, but most of them are based off of the fact that they released their last name in the article.
Yeah.
And they extrapolated the only people who have the last names in some of these cases. The only person who has actually come out right and declared that they were involved and that they're apologizing was Type B.
I'm reading it right now. I am sorry. Due to a hasty mistake, I have disappointed many people. I have nothing to say on this matter, and I do not have any intention of being forgiven. I will be entering military service on May 31st, and it seems like I am running away from the truth. I can only say that I will do my best to reflect on my actions and be discharged as a better, more rational person. I'm truly sorry once again.